Section 4. Feudal societies. Feudal societies share common elements. Feudalism was not unique to Europe. As you already have read, Japanese developed a very similar system halfway around the world from Europe at about the same time. But how similar were those two sections? Lords and vassals. In Europe, the basis for the feudal system was land. Kings and lords gave lands to knights. In return, the knights promised to serve their lords and fight them when necessary. Many knights owned large manors. Peasants and serfs worked on the manors and paid the lords in food. A very similar system existed in Japan. The emperor gave land to great lords who were later called daimyo. In turn, these lords employed warriors called samurai. Like European knights, the samurai promised to serve and fight for their lords. In exchange, the samurai received rice and grain. Lords got the grain from peasants who farmed their land. Peasants had to pay their lords in grain. Knights and samurai. The lives of knights and samurai were in many ways very similar. Both had to swear vows and loyalty to their lords. These lords expected them to fight well and be fearless in battle. The lords also expected their knights or samurai to live disciplined and honorable life. Both European knights and Japanese samurai had to follow strict codes of honor that governed how they behaved. You have already learned about Bushido, a Japanese code of the samurai. Europeans called their code of honorable behavior for knights chivalry. Like Bushido, chivalry required knights to be brave and loyal, but humble and modest at the same time. But it also required them to be kind and generous when dealing with people, especially women. Because of their loyalty and dedication, both knights and samurai were greatly admired by the other members of the societies. The admirations can often be seen in literary descriptions of the men, such as this description of the French knight Roland and his comrades, who were greatly outnumbered by their enemies. The battle is fearful and full of grief. Oliver and Roland strike like good men. The archbishop more than 1,000 blows and 20 peers do not hang back, they strike. The French fight side by side, all as one man. The pagans die by hundreds, by thousands. Whoever does not flee finds no refuge from death. Like it or not, there he ends his day. Even though Roland and the others were also certain that they would die, but they continued to fight. They became heroes admired for their courage and bravery. The Japanese also admired their warriors for their courage. A passage from a Japanese text shows in a similar admiration for warriors fighting impossible odds. Where Naozen galloped, Shushi followed. Where Shushi galloped, Naozen followed. Neither willing to be outdone, they dashed in by turns, whipping their horses and attacking until the sparks flew. Naozen pulled up the arrows that were lodged in his own armor, tossed them aside, faced the stronghold with a scowl, and shouted in a mild voice, "I am Naozen, the man who left Kamakura last winter, determined to give his life for Lord Yoritomo. Confront me. Europe and Japanese differ. Although Europe and Japanese societies were not the same in some ways, in most ways they were not. The two cultures were also very different. Perhaps the main difference between the medieval and Europeans and Japanese were religion. Not nearly all Europeans were Christian, with the Japanese blended elements of Bushido and Shinto and Confucianism. European and Japanese religions taught very different ways of looking at the world. People in the places therefore did not act the same way. The differences between Europe and Japan can also be seen in artistic forms. popular in each place. European art in the Middle Ages dealt mostly with religious themes. Paintings showed scenes from the Bible, and writers tried to inspire people with stories about great Christians. In Japan, on the other hand, most art dealt with natural themes. Painting of nature were common. The people built many gardens, building blended with nature rather than standing out. Japanese literature also celebrated nature. For example, Japanese poets in 1600s created haiku, short three-line poems of 17 syllables that describe nature scenes. Although European and Japanese feudal systems seemed similar and the cultures that lay behind them were different, still it's remarkable to think of the feudal systems that were similar could exist so far apart.